At our regularly scheduled meeting, City of North Miami, council meeting. Mr. Clerk, can you please do roll call?
Mayor Joseph,
Here.
Councilman Galvin, Councilwoman Keys,
Here.
Vice Mayor Bieneme, and Councilman Dezume. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum to proceed.
Thank you very much. We will proceed with Officer Abigail Mary with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Officer. We'll continue with invocation by Commander Angelo Brunson. Brunson or Brinson?
Brunson.
Not Charles Brunson.
Let's all bow. Father God in heaven, we all come before your throne of grace with bowed heads and humbled hearts, giving thanks for all your blessings, great and small. We thank you for allowing us all to congregate here on this occasion to go about the city's business. We hope and pray that all things that are said and done will be for the uplifting of the city, for all of its residents, guests, and visitors. And let us all behave toward one another with brotherly love, and we're all working toward the same common goal. In your son Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much, Commander. We'll proceed with the manager if there is any addition, deletions, amendments to the agenda, so we may do them now before we proceed.
Yes, sir. I have a few. I'd like to withdraw tab B from the agenda and move that. I'll have that at the next meeting. Like to move up tab D and hear that immediately following the consent agenda.
Mhm.
And then tab D,
D as in dog,
D as in dog,
to go before 7, I mean before C?
before C.
Okay.
And then I need to change the order because of regulation. I need to switch tab, the order of tab I and H. They're companion items, but I needs to go first, and then H needs to be heard.
Okay.
If I may ask, why are you changing the order of D?
We have outside counsel here that for that item, to represent for the city, and council needs to leave for another meeting, so we just wanted to have it as soon as we could.
You said I before H, right?
I before H, yes, sir.
Is that it?
That is it, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
Mr. Attorney, we'll proceed, considering that this agenda is set.
Yes, Mayor, the agenda is set. You may proceed.
Well, the special presentation, I believe there is one, no? We have a special recognition to the city of North Miami as one of the 4th municipalities in Miami-Dade County to be designated a storm-ready community A. That's what I say.
What does that mean?
Storm ready.
Good?
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
we don't
good.
have to go down, do we?
What?
Oh, what is it? I mean, let's go and find out. Storm ready. Carol, please, let's go. What does that mean?
No, we're not. We've never been afraid. Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, all of our guests and residents, on February 13th, 2019, the United States Department of Commerce, along with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as we all know as NOAA, they presented the city of North Miami with a plaque commemorating that we are now recognized as a storm-ready community. Now, what does that mean? We received this designation for improving the timeliness and effectiveness of hazardous weather warnings through a diligent and proactive approach of increased communications and preparedness. North Miami is one of only 4 municipalities in Miami-Dade County out of 36 who has obtained this special recognition, and our storm-ready community designation is valid until January 2022. At that time, we will have to reapply and demonstrate our continued commitment to emergency preparedness and effective communications with the citizens that we serve. In addition to being recognized as a storm-ready community, this qualifies our city to receive an additional 25 points on our community rating system score. The higher the score we have on our community rating system, the more discounts our residents may qualify for on their flood insurance. If I could be indulged, sir, just read one paragraph from the letter that came from the National Weather Service. Dear North Miami Division of Emergency Management, on behalf of the Miami National Weather Service Forecast Office Storm Ready Advisory Board, I would like to congratulate you for the City of North Miami's successful recognition as a storm-ready community. North Miami is one of only 4 municipalities in Miami-Dade County to obtain this special recognition. This success is clearly a result of your vision, leadership, hard work, and commitment to the residents, visitors, and staff of North Miami. In particular, Ms. Atherley Edwards was instrumental in spearheading the city through the application and recognition process, and her work is to be commended. This is from Dr. Pablo Santos, the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service. If I can have my staff come up. We were presented with a plaque that states we're storm ready, which I will display proudly in my office. And we were also presented with this sign, which we're going to display prominently in front of City Hall, so all of our citizens, guests, visitors, and staff can all join the recognition with us.
Do we have any city event announcement? No? Project update.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, North Miami neighbors, and guests. I'm Unicia Baker, Senior Public Information Officer for the City of North Miami, and it is my pleasure to share some of the city's upcoming programs and initiatives with you. In collaboration with the North Miami Public Library, CRAMS Consulting now offers a series of parent workshops designed to empower parents with the skills necessary to guide their children on the road to school success. You can attend our next workshop. It's scheduled for February 27th at 6 p.m. at the Nomi Library. The final activity for North Miami's 2019 Black History Month celebration is MoCA Moving Images, which takes place tomorrow, February 27th at 6:30 p.m. As part of the current Afro-Cobra exhibit, which closes in 1 month, this documentary film explores the complex identity formations of young African women living in America and West Africa. This event is free with museum admission. Need help filing your taxes? The AARP Foundation provides free tax return preparations for low and moderate income taxpayers and seniors at the North Miami Public Library every Thursday from 10:30 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. Assistance will be available until April 15th. Earn your high school diploma for free at the Nomi Career Online High School, available through the North Miami Public Library. You can also attend our next information session. It's scheduled for Tuesday, March 12th at 6 p.m. It'll take place at the Griffin Community Center. Tuesday, March 6th, join the City of North Miami's Mayor, Dr. Smith Joseph, for this year's first quarter business luncheon. It's titled Inclusive Prosperity, Nomi in Today's Creative Economy, featuring keynote speaker Dr. Richard Florida, professor at the University of Toronto and visiting fellow of FIU Miami Urban Future Initiative. RSVP on Eventbrite today. On March 6th, MoCA Moving Images will feature a documentary centered on the struggle of activist Angela Davis, whose affiliation with the Communist Party and the Black Panthers challenged our perception of political freedom. This free screening opens at 6:30 p.m. The next Getting Gear Community Bike Ride Wellness Initiative is scheduled for Saturday, March 9th, with registration at 8 a.m. The monthly 10-mile group bike ride starts and ends at Mocha Plaza and takes place on the second Saturday of each month. This month's water stops are sponsored by the North Miami Chamber of Commerce and the Knights of Columbus Marian Council, number 3757, North Miami. This year's Parks and Recreation Spring Camp is scheduled for March 25th through March 29th at Keystone Community Center and the Claude Judson Center. It's $100 for residents, $120 for non-residents. Fees include all trips, activities, daily snaps, and related transportation. Campers must bring a bag lunch daily. Register during business hours at the Parks and Recreation Office. Stay up to date with the latest happenings in our cities by visiting www.northmiamifl.gov. Then click the Connect with NOMI icon on the homepage where you can sign up to receive our monthly NOMI newsletter. Residents may also like the City of North Miami on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This concludes today's announcements.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baker. Any updates of city projects?
Not at this time, sir.
No. Well, there is only one item in the consent. That's type A, right? The B was removed. Just we need a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the consent agenda, which is only tab A. That motion was seconded by Councilman Nzume.
Yeah, go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah.
Item passed with A.
Before we proceed, Mr. Clerk, I believe I saw Commissioner Moniz team working earlier. I don't know if he has a few words to say, or if you just want to say hi. And
To the mic, Commissioner.
Let me get the yellow paper. I'll announce it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council, and good evening to all the residents of Miami, of the City of North Miami. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. How much time do I have, Mr. Mayor?
we'll leave it wide open for you.
Very good. Thank you.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. Well, again, it's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure, and I invited myself before you this evening because, first of all, I believe that's what my constituents, our constituents, expect of me. I also come, ironically, because we are celebrating Black History Month, and I think it's important to make a public demonstration of my willingness to work with this council, and not just this council, a majority Black council. I come here because this is where my political career began, here in North Miami. I came here because the city is where I first opened my business, and the doors are still open. And my business office is basically less than 500 feet away from the entrance of this building. And I began investing in the city of North Miami in the early 90s. I raised my children here, I raised my family here, and my two sons, when I moved to Biscayne Garden, decided, Dad, we're not coming with you. We're staying right here in North Miami. And they still live here. So I didn't come here because of the article that appeared yesterday, to tell the truth, because I am a county commissioner. That is expected. Luckily for me, I'm not interested in good press. I'm not interested in bad press, neither. So that's why after 8 years, you haven't seen my name around that much in the paper. But to assume that the city council, the citizens of North Miami, has monies in the county that I refuse to release because of whatever political reason is an affront to my integrity and to my service to the community and to the people of North Miami. As simple as that. Let me give you some facts. When the citizens of North Miami called me because they wanted a do-over for 16th Avenue, that was not discussed with the city council. It was done. When others called me because they wanted the resurfacing of the portion of North Miami Avenue that is in the city council, that was done. When the citizens of North Miami told me, what can you do because west of 119th Street, we see what the city has done, but east of I-95, the entrance to the city is not quite as aesthetically beautiful. I just took it on my own responsibility to take care of it. So when I advocate every year for MOCA to increase MOCA's funding in the budget, there isn't one person in North Miami that has ever asked me to advocate for that. When MOCA was about to go down, I had a couple of conversations with Councilman Galvin at the old Kisleck Bank where your office was, and explained to you some of my efforts because I know this was an anchor in the city and we couldn't afford to let MOCA close. Actually, the very money we're discussing, Cagney's money, that money was fought for by the council I served on in 2004, before the referendum. So I am more entitled to fight to keep that money in North Miami than anybody would ever think they should, who came to this council or to the city after I came here. So why is so much confusion about what's happening with Cagney's money? I think there is nothing but the interest in politicizing what I do, because maybe it makes a political case for whomever is interested in that. But I came here this evening, honestly, because I'm not interested in this kind of fight. I'm not interested in this kind of politics. This is not my kind of politics. This is not my kind of politics. As a matter of fact, the record will show when the manager's assistant sent an email to my former chief of staff back in September 2018, September 27th, I believe it was, requesting that we transfer the funds. I was questioning myself until last Friday as to why I didn't see the email. I'm being very candid with you. As to why I didn't see the resolution. Okay? And I was about to go off in my office. Then I realized that my former chief of staff emailed that resolution to the county's finance department approximately an hour later. And it is the county that sent it to me after due diligence. We sent it an hour after. All along, my former chief of staff was informing me that the city manager wants to set an appointment to meet with me at the office, which never materialized for whatever reason. But now, I don't have any control over the manager's calendar. But at the end of the day, I'm proud to say that my chief of staff did his job then. And what happened when we find out that we were being questioned about what happened with Cagney's money? We follow up with the county attorney's office. We had two different versions. Understand, for those watching and those listening, when these conversations are taking place, the commissioner is not always in the mix or in the middle of the conversation. It's staff with staff. So what was explained to us, which I understand differently right now, was that after the homeowners association gave me the resolution, and frankly, at the end of the day, I was always hoping that the district councilman would come and have a conversation with the commissioner about what he's trying to do, whether I can help get more money to help him or to help with the city, with what we're trying to accomplish in the city. That was never the case. Although at one point, I did offer the possibility of finding additional funds for this very project. And if someone wants to remember, they will remember, if they can get back to their recollection. So we were told that we did not need to do a resolution from the county to do this. Understand, the county attorney's office has 200 people working in there. Okay? So we were moving forward thinking that no further action of the board is warranted. Why? Honestly, it's because we've been at this for quite a while. We later find out, as you know, after the administration sent information to the Miami Herald, and it was properly reported in the Miami Herald, that the board has to take action. Guess what happened immediately after we find out and before the article came out? We asked the county attorney's office to proffer a resolution. So why is this happening? It's happening because someone decided that it's politically expedient. And again, I respect this city too much. I respect myself too much. I respect my family, the people I serve too much, the people who helped me become who I am too much, to be dragged, to allow myself to be dragged to this kind of politics. And those who know, understand clearly, I'm not afraid of a good fight. I can put up a good fight, but never a fight for political reasons. A fight if it helps elevate the people I serve to a higher position. So, in conclusion, Mr. Mayor, I'll give this to the clerk and to all the council members for the record, so you can see the stream of email that we exchange with the county officials. And again, for the record, I'll just conclude with these words. When I wanted to serve this community, I moved here to North Miami. I moved my family here. After I lost an election, I didn't move out. After I lost a second election, I didn't move out. After I became a commissioner, I didn't move out. I still own property here. My family still live here. So the least we can do for our people, if someone wants to challenge me, come and question me face to face. I'm not afraid of that. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm here. Because the last thing I'm going to allow myself is to let people bully me, especially if it's political bully. I don't accept that. As per the referendum, the 2004 referendum, these $5 million can never go anywhere but to the city of North Miami. That's what I explained when we had this conversation. They cannot go anywhere. They are the city's money. They are, as a matter of fact, as a politician, I would hope that something happened way before this political season so that I could see my hands helping the city of North Miami with what happened, with that $5 million. But we never had I had a conversation in person with anybody on the city council about these $5 million. Never. 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 So as a matter of fact, it's ironic that somebody would send a certified letter, which was never sent, by the way, which I never received. Actually, we're working with the with the postal office right now to find out what's happened. And I think if it were, by the way, the reason I'm speaking is because my staff is not allowed to get into politics because they're not there for that. But frankly, if any one of them were to return that letter without my approval, they would have been fired, as simple as that. And I think, and I hope, and I would challenge the city to investigate and find out whether this letter was ever mailed. And if it's someone from my office that's returned it, I promise that this person would be fired. But what would you do if it was never mailed to my office? If there was never any certified letter? So, did the postal agent get to the first floor and decide I'm not going to go to the second floor and return it? I cannot assume that. But I know that that's not the way we do business in my office. So, Mr. Mayor, I thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I'm not the city's political foe. I'm not running for any office in North Miami. As a matter of fact, I just won my last re-election. And honestly, in a perfect world, what I was hoping was, okay, at least for continuity, that this council will collaborate with me and perhaps somebody replace me on the county commission, because this city deserves to have continuity in the things that I've started, or my district deserve that. But it's a shame that this is how we want to do our business, but this is not how Jean Monet's team ever conduct his business. And thank you for the time. And my door's always open, always willing to work with whomever wants to work with me, in good days and bad days. And I'll never put my ego above the service of this community. Never, ever.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner. Obviously, we have the agenda. It's not a, this is not an item on the agenda, but of course, you know, it is by protocol, by cordiality. I give the opportunity for the commissioner to greet us, not just the people on the dais, but as well as the people from the city of North Miami who sit in the audience. And but it is my understanding that maybe one or two commissioner wants to comment. I don't know if it's going to have to do with the rest of the commission if we want to continue.
Well, I would like to say, Mr. Mayor, if you allow me, thank you, Commissioner, for coming here. And I was listening very carefully. I don't know what's going on, but I was hearing a lot of political talk and accusation. And let me rest assured, if I am going to ask for an investigation, because you said you're willing to fire one of your staff, I think we should stand by that as well as the city. That's number one. But I could only speak for myself. I don't know the back and forth of what was going on, but I knew that homeowners, from what I was hearing while here on the dais openly, were trying to get in touch when it comes to the Cagney Park money. I had heard from Ms. Brown, from Ms. Hill, outside of this council when they asked that. So my only communication or interaction regarding the money was what I've been told doing briefing with the manager. And that's just the manager giving me an overview. So you said something that struck me. Somebody sending something to the Miami Herald. I don't know. I would like to get an answer from that, because I think as a city, I don't know if we're in the business of doing that. And I would like to hear from that. But the other point, publicly, and I'm glad that you came here tonight to say you are willing to work with me, because I am one of those commissioners who always open to especially you, because I do respect the work that you do, because I followed your footsteps from the council, District 4. But it's my understanding, my office, I had directed them, and I think that there might be some communication that we both might need to work on. From my understanding, my assistant right here, Rosa Enriquez, I requested Rosa twice to send you a letter so that I could personally come and meet with you and she sent the letter. You, Miss, can you please go? I'm sorry, this is not a jury, but I just want, you did send the letter, right? The email. You called and emailed, so both of them, we never got a response back trying to schedule that meeting. So I know now you have a new chief of staff, so we're gonna try again to do that. But I just want that to be on the record, that I did try twice. And then outside of that, one of the issues that I wanted to meet with you about, that I could talk about it openly, was one of the, well, not a constituent, but Mr. Rochelle Anderson really was passionate about some affordable housing. And I say to him, I said, that's something that we might want to take to the commissioner. So he said to me that he would reach out to your office, which I cannot verify if that was done, but I know my office did call and send the email on that, so I am willing to do that. But Mr. Manager, I don't know how we could, the concern about the certified letter, if we sent the letter or not, how we could just accurately do that, because that's very troubling to me if that occurred. Somebody definitely, because I don't think that, because you publicly, that means that you lied to not only the council, the public, if that's the administration.
Before you speak, if I may interject, last meeting when we had that resolution, I believe that I spent a few good, maybe 2 or 3 minutes on the fact that you reported to us that you mailed a letter through the U.S. Post Office Services, and I believe you had the envelope with you, with the stamp. So I wanted to make sure that was the case, because I know there was a possibility that
Can we get a copy of that?
that this would go a long way. I mean,
Absolutely.
because I mean, federal, post office business. If somebody lies to the federal, building, a government, people know what that is. This is not just a local politics thing. So we better make sure that we in fact did mail that letter, and
Yeah.
whatever happened, that it came back to us.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Let me be clear.
Mhm.
I'm not playing any politics. A letter was mailed through the U.S. Postal Service, certified by my staff, and I got a return. If you'd like to see the original envelope, it is upstairs in my office. It is not manipulated by my office, as far as I know, or myself. I didn't accuse anybody. It was returned.
Okay.
So
So during the months that you have been here, have you made any efforts to try to meet with the commissioner's staff on
Yes.
on this issue?
I spoke to his chief of staff about the very email communication. I said that at the last meeting that I spoke to him.
Okay.
So
Mr. Mayor, can I
I
say
think-
something?
I think
Okay,
Commissioner wanted
welcome.
to say something.
Commissioner Monestein, thank you for coming here this evening. I know we spoke since the last meeting. I really appreciate you coming and getting this moving. That is, I think, all of our intention. You gave us a letter, an email. Are we on the right track to getting my thought is, forget what happened in the past. We need to start moving forward. So my question is, do these emails, is this moving it forward, or what is it that we need to do to make this happen? Let's not blame this one and that one. Let's just get it done, please. We're requesting.
My office is proffering a substantial modification. That is what is needed, and the county attorney's office is drafting that already. The irony about this is that a week prior to this letter being sent, I got off the dais assisting the manager on the CRA issue he was dealing with downtown because his item was pulled. And I wanted to get him out early, and I explained to him what to do to get that happen. And I find it surprising that the letter was not discussed with me. An issue with the resolution of the CAGNY fund was not discussed with me. The mayor and I, we meet on a board that's almost regularly. We never have a conversation about that. Recently, I was in Orlando with Councilman Bien-Aimé and Councilman Desolme. We never have a conversation about that. Give my office some credit. How is it that the Homeowners Association was able to have that conversation with me? Simple. Well, they are also my constituents. They ask for a meeting. I give them a meeting. But we all understand that's not the proper protocol. I represent them, but I don't take order for the city government from them.
We spoke a couple months ago.
No, I understand. I explained the same thing to you.
And you told me, so
I gave you my word. I gave them my words.
You gave me your word, which is why we
the only thing that happened is that the only thing that happened, and I think it's the same thing here, if somebody reaches out to city staff and what you expect is not happening, if you have an opportunity to speak to the manager, do so, because he needs to get it straight. So I'm not saying that my staff is infallible. I'm not saying that. But if you're not getting what you're supposed to get out of them, you see me all the time. Talk to me. We never had a conversation. Nobody ever complained to me until I said it in the paper, until the Herald called me. That is unacceptable.
So but you didn't answer my question.
I answered your question. We're proffering a substantial modification resolution from the county commission. That's what is required.
Okay, so it is in the works, and we're just waiting for the...
Yeah, for the third time it is on the work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, let me say something. Commissioner Monestin talk about politics, and he talks about Cagdi Park. It's a project that he worked since when he was a commissioner. Understand, Commissioner Monestin, the money wasn't for works for Cagni Park. We never had $5 billion for Cagni. It never been Cagni. The money was for Works Park. No, Mr. Can I finish, Mr. Commissioner?
Yeah, go ahead.
The money was for Works Park. In January of 2014, when we were negotiating with the school board about Cagni Park, that's when I find out only $2 million was allocated for Cagni. What I did, to a resolution, I moved the Works Park money to Cagni to make it a $10.5 million project. This is what it is, that I've been working on it since January of 2014. Now, if we're talking about money for Cagni, if we're talking about a $10.5 million project, I bring it on the table. Because when I was here in January of 2014, the school board brought a $2 million project for Cagni. It was a school board project. We were able to negotiate with the school board in order for them to allow us to do the project. Because the Cagni that you're talking about, the $2 million, was a school board project. It never been a City of North Miami project.
You mean the Works Park? The Works Park project.
No, I'm talking about Cagni.
Okay.
Cagni never been a City of North Miami project. I make it a City of North Miami project. Because it was $2 million, we were able to negotiate with the school board to give us $3.5 million. And we were going to bring with $7 million in order to make it a $10.5 million project. That's when, with the administration, we passed a resolution to move the $5 million from Works Park to Cagni Park. And when I talked to you a couple years ago about that, about Works Park, and I remember you said, since you have an interlocal agreement with the school board, you need to finish with them first before you can start engaging discussion with the county commission. That's what I've been doing.
I know at the beginning,
yes.
I know at the beginning, the commissioner asked me, how long does he have to speak? And of course, out of generosity, I say we leave it open, but open doesn't really mean open.
I understand, Mr. Mayor.
So we're going to try our best.
And since then, Mr. Mayor, because I didn't want to play politics, I didn't want to call the commissioner every day, have lunch with him, and talked about a city project. That's why I did what I had to do by passing resolutions on the dais and let the administration do their job working with your administration in order to bring that money to the city of North Miami to do that project. This is what it is. I've been working on it since 2014. It never been a CAGNY project until I make it like that.
Councilman,
Yes.
I'm not here, again, I'm not the one running for mayor, so I'm not here to have a conversation about which is your
No, but
project.
you
which
said
is
it's a
not
CAGNY project.
Councilman, in all
Let's
due
not-
respect,
Let's not make
in
it
all
a
due
back and
respect,
forth.
you don't want to go into history of North Miami's issues and project with me. In all due respect.
No, but
Because
when you said
the
it's a
city
CAGNY,
council-
But you said it's a CAGNY project.
You already made the correction, Vice Mayor.
In all due respect,
Let's not
Commissioner,
make it a
I didn't
back
come
and
here
forth.
for this.
Mm.
So I just wanted to make sure that you understand when you want your project move forward, it's okay whether you like him or you don't like him, disagree with him or disagree with him, his friend or not his friend, to meet with him. And it's normal. That's the way
That's
politics is conducted here.
Yeah.
So hopefully, when I'm no longer out of office, or if you have another project before you're done with your tenure, feel free to call my office and ask to meet with me to have a conversation about your project if it has anything to do with the county. That's all that is required. That's simple civility. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner. Let this meeting continue.
Tab D, Mayor.
Yes.
Proposed resolution of
No.
Before Tap D, Michael, just
I think
a
it's
quick
tab D
announcement.
first.
Yeah.
Tab D goes before E. No?
D.
For your report.
Huh?
Oh, report, do it in the
Yeah.
Oh, if you want to.
Oh, what is the announcement? Should I do it during my report for
Why don't you
tomorrow?
go ahead and do it now?
Oh, do it
Go
now.
ahead and do it now.
Which Eunice forgot to mention, the NOMI Gold and Silver Senior Program tomorrow is hosting its 4th annual luncheon. It's going to be held at the Joe Celestine Center at 11 a.m. It's not open to the public, but we just wanted you to know the 4th annual NOMI Gold and Silver Senior Program is happening tomorrow at Joe Celestine Center. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Clerk, I believe D as in dog was, C was taken out. And then D was moved because, well, D automatically
was
comes
taken out.
next.
It was
before C.
Yeah.
It's just D.
We moved B.
Okay, C is still there. Okay,
correct.
go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Tab D, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of
Yeah.
North Miami, Florida,
It's only tab
authorizing and approving the execution of an employment agreement with the city attorney in substantially the attached form, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That was tab D.
Mayor,
No, C is still there.
This is why you should never switch them up, because we spend more time debating.
the outside, I didn't want to be sitting as the city attorney as you're discussing my contract, so I had outside counsel come in. He had to go to another meeting at another municipality. So I'm going to have Jennifer, I really would prefer not having someone who's subordinate to me do this, but she's available to answer any questions. So I'm going to have her take the seat.
Do we need somebody? Do we need Jennifer? I mean,
Jennifer is here.
I should
No, I know,
not
but he's
be,
saying it
I
on
should
the
not be
record.
giving you legal advice on my contract. I
no,
think
you're not
just
giving us on your
historically,
contract.
guys know
You
that.
giving us. I'm asking you advice on the legality of do we even
No,
need
you're going to
somebody?
be asking
It's
questions.
council. We need
You can ask
Yeah.
some questions, and we can ask you questions.
You can ask me questions. I'm going to be sitting right there.
Ah,
I'll
okay.
come up to the mic.
Oh, okay. Well,
In
let
terms of
Jennifer come in. I
questions
thought you said
regard-
you were leaving the room.
No, 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 no.
Okay, Jennifer could come in.
That's it?
No, I already read it. Tab D.
Well, tab D as in dog has already been read. I guess at this point of time, we should open it to the public. If anyone in the public wishes to be heard on item D as in dog, which is regarding a employment agreement renewal between the city of North Miami and attorney Jeff Cazzo. Now this is your time to be heard. I see none, hear none, so public hearing is therefore closed. Any questions from the dais?
Mr. Mayor, I apologize again for my voice. Can we ask staff for a summary of what we're being asked to approve or disapprove this evening?
Absolutely. Mayor and Council, the employment agreement that has been provided and proffered by the city attorney has been attached to the agenda, and it's available for public as well as your review. Substantially, the only change in the agreement is under Section 3 term. Your original agreement with the city attorney provided for a 3-year term, which would expire on April 17th of this year. Your new agreement is for a 3-year term, and the substantial change is that following that 3-year term, there will be no longer a term. Your city attorney will serve at the will of the mayor and council at that point.
Okay.
As far as salary, that remains the same, and all of the other current provisions.
Yeah, I
of
didn't
your-
see a section for that. That's the only question I had. I couldn't see it. Salary?
So your annual base salary is discussed in section number 5.
5.
And it currently says that the city attorney is going to continue to be paid at his current rate.
Yeah, but the public doesn't know. Do they need to know?
What is the current rate?
I'll defer to the city attorney if he wishes to disclose.
It's public record. It's $240,000.
Okay.
That's the same as the manager, correct?
Correct.
Scott is talking. Scott is not done. Done? You done, Scott?
Hmm?
Yeah, that was the only question I had right now.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
that's
Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just gonna make a motion to approve.
I've just a quick question or concern about that. And just understand that it's election year, and in about 90 days we're going to have an election, and a new administration may comes in and take place. And should we make decision for the new administration? Why don't we extend it until like the fiscal year, like September of 2019 now, to let the new administration negotiate the contract? Or if there is a new administration, that's what I would think. We don't, if we sign contract right now for 3 years and understand that if a new administration comes in and they feel like there's a need for a new administration, now they're gonna try to get rid of that contract, and the city gonna end up paying a lot of money. I don't know if, what do people think?
When does his current term
Expired in April.
expires in April?
Yeah.
So is there any section in that agreement? I think usually if there is going to be any renewal, it has to be taken place 90 days prior. Is it 90 days or 60 days? Does the old agreement call for that?
No.
No?
It's a straight 3-year term.
Oh, okay. But it doesn't require 60 days prior the expiration of the contract for the city.
No, that was in
No?
relation contract. It's not in that. That's just what I was saying. In case a new administration comes in and decide otherwise, it's gonna cost the city a lot of money. That's why we said why not we let the new administration work with that.
I mean, we can decide to make a resolution to go to the moon, and the next administration can say no. So I mean,
It's up to you. Just
Can I make a quick suggestion?
Mhm.
You know, is it possible if the attorney would agree to that? Because I'm hearing after the 3-year terms is up, it goes into the what
another
would
3 years.
No, it doesn't go into another 3. It goes up to at will, correct?
No, after the next 3 years.
After the next 3 years, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get the gist of that. Can we vote on it where it's at will now versus the would that satisfy your concern?
No, I will see if the employee
'cause I don't think it really
agree
matters.
for September 30th, like the fiscal year.
Well,
and extend this one to the until the 2019 fiscal year, and then let the new administration and decide what they want to do. That's
Would,
Mayor.
would a 1-year contract be acceptable, or is that just?
At any point, this council can terminate my employment. Whether it's a 3-year term or no year term, you can. The only issue is if I'm terminated without cause, I get a severance. That's all the issue is. So if another council comes in and says, we don't want Jeff Cazot, we want John Smith, you can terminate my contract, and then you have to pay me my severance.
Okay.
So I
What
think
is the
that's the
severance?
solution.
How much?
20
What is the
weeks.
severance?
20
21
weeks.
weeks per the Florida statute.
What it is?
21
20
weeks
weeks.
for the Florida statute.
That's just a suggestion. I don't.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, may I? I'm sorry you have to put up with this. I'm hoping by the next couple of meetings it'll be back to normal. I did not vote for Mr. Cazot when he originally got this position. I can say after having worked with him for the last 2-3 years, you have done an outstanding job. I've been hypercritical of people who've sat in that chair before. I've never had to be critical of you. I'm comfortable with extending it the full 3 years. I agree, should always be at will.
Yeah.
Mr. Woland, who's in the room, could go back to the times when this was switched over from at will to contractual. But I don't want us to start throwing out administrative people, especially somebody who's worked this well, just because a council changes administration. I think that kind of revolving door only hurts the city when people don't feel there's any continuity to staff leadership. So I'm okay extending it the full 3 years and then reverting back to the
If that's the
traditional.
case, we need a motion.
I'll repeat my motion to approve the contract as
No,
presented.
I was trying to make a.
I'll just second it for discussion. So
Discussion.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll second it.
I'm okay with it. I guess my suggestion was just so that we all would be in a kumbaya point. But I'm okay with it. But I would say, since if it's at will, I guess, would that satisfy your concern, Councilman, Mr. Vice Mayor?
But my
Okay.
no, my comments is not based on whether I'm satisfied with Jeff or not. That's when I'm completely satisfied with him. But the only problem is because it's election mode, and I don't want the city to pay a lot of money in case there is a new administration, in case there is a change. That's why I bring it to the council. If you decide everything is fine, and we're okay with that. That was my.
So-
But I never questioned and the good job that he's been doing, and for the past 2 years for the city.
I would like to say one more thing. The contract reads, if Mr. Cazot does anything for cause, there's not a termination fee. I hate the idea of playing politics up here, getting a new council, and changing it because they want their own friends. Mr. Cazot, I will echo Scott 100%. Mr.
Yeah, but
Cazot.
Carol,
Well,
and
he's been good. He's been good for the city. He's doing a good
I
job.
understand that,
If
but
he's- if he-
understand,
But I really
Councilwoman
don't wanna-
Keys,
I don't want to see
we
new
are a
people coming.
political assembly. Don't say by saying we are the administration cannot do politics, but up there we are a political assembly. That's when don't say we cannot play politics. That's why we are here.
I don't want to.
We satisfied with Jeff Cazot, but I just say because it's election, what do you think? That's when it's not like I'm fighting. We don't want to extend his contract or give him another 2 years. He's been doing a bad job for the council.
I
But when
appreciate
you say politics, we are a political assembly. That's when there's nothing wrong that we do politics here.
Yeah.
The administration cannot do
I
politics.
appreciate your
Yeah, I do agree with both of you. I mean, even at home we play politics. I play politics with my 15-year-old, my 27-year-old. Sometimes I ask them to do things. They say, "Okay, you want me to do this, Daddy? You got to give me that." Well, but to echo Scott, after couple of years, I'm the one who actually nominated Jeff Cazot for appointment, and he got the position. I have nothing to reproach of him. I think he's been doing a stellar job, but and I do agree. Different people may come, they may not, jive. I mean, their political ideology may not jive with his, but I don't think his position. Well, it's kind of political, I guess, but it's probably half political and half professional, I should say. So. I mean, the motion is on the table by Councilwoman, and I seconded it.
So I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve tab D. The motion was seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 5-0 vote. Tab C. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager and city attorney to negotiate and execute an agreement with EnviroWaste Services Group, Inc., and further authorizing the city manager to issue purchase orders to Enviro State Service Group, Inc., in the aggregate amount not to exceed $1 million for the completion of sanitary sewer system repairs, piggybacking Broward County solicitation number Y2114050B1, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That was tab C.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Alberto Estrada, Purchasing Director. The item that you have before you is staff's recommendation for your approval and award of contract to EnviroWaste Services Group, Inc., to provide the city with sanitary sewer system repairs as part of the city's inflow and infiltration reduction program by piggybacking on a contract between Broward County and EnviroWaste. As further described in the council report that is submitted in support of this item, Broward County issued a contract to EnviroWaste based on a response to a competitive solicitation issued for their multi-district inflow and infiltration reduction program. For the record, EnviroWaste is one of the largest sewer and storm drainage cleaning companies within the state of Florida. Has a fleet of over 100 pieces of heavy equipment with which to perform this work. In addition, they have a proven track record of performance and reliability as reflected by the fact that in addition to this Broward County contract, they also have numerous other municipalities that awarded contracts to them, such as the City of Miami, Miami Beach, Hollywood, Sunrise, Doral, etc. In order for the City of North Miami to comply with state and local regulatory requirements regarding...
Hold on one second, Alberto. Just to kind of get to the summit of this item. This is the item that I've briefed you all on regarding the repairs that we need to make prior to June, so that we can have Durham come in, do the testing they need to not have us under moratorium because some of our pump stations are substandard to regulatory standards. So I just wanted to remind everybody what this item is. We absolutely need to get it done now so that we have the work done and ready to go for June 1st.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. So at this time, we'll open it to the public. Item, what item is that? I?
C.
Item C is open to the public. I see none, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed. Anyone on the dais with questions, concerns? Go ahead.
Mr. Estrada, you know how I feel about the piggybacks. I guess this is the only company that could do this magnitude of work, the level of work. That's one of the few.
No, this is not the only company that could do this, but this is a company that's been identified by staff, given against their track record, their level of performance, their experience. Again, and I just rolled off a few of the cities that have a lot of other contracts with other municipalities to do this kind of work, which obviously speaks to their reliability level of performance.
All right, Mr. Manager, that's it. And which other project? It's not only the what other projects, Mr. Pierre-Louis?
What are the pump stations?
The pump stations that are included in this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and residents. Whistler Pierre-Louis, Public Works Director. As it stands right now, the latest report that we submitted to Durham had 2 pump station basin areas that did not comply with their requirements. The SSES, or Sanitary Sewer Evaluation Survey, requires that we investigate the entire city. And there are...
How many pump stations? That was the question.
Yeah, how many pump stations?
Right now there are 2, but I also want to say we will continue to investigate. And if there are other pump station basins that are not in compliance, we will also address them.
That's what I'm saying. I'm confused. He said there's 2, but he said there's 2 that's not in. So the 2 that's not in compliance, those are the 2 that you apply for. Okay, because the way he said it was like there's 2, but there's some non-compliance. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
That means you're gonna see that item multiple times.
Thank you very much.
Coming back. Thank you.
Any other? Yeah, you can go ahead. There is no motion yet.
Okay. There's no motion, so I make a motion to move the item as is.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Nazumi to approve tab C. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 5-0 vote. Tab E. Proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Nuisance at Article 7 entitled Unsafe Buildings and Structures to create a new unsafe structures ordinance, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. That's tab E.
Okay, item open to the public for anyone who wants to be heard. Public hearing is open on tab E as in Easter. See none, hear none. Public hearing is closed. This is the second reading of an item we heard at the last meeting.
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve tab E. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bieneme,
Yeah.
Councilman Dezume,
Yes.
and Mayor Joseph.
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab F, proposed
Sorry, we also not discussed. We also noted the fact that we would be appointing some members, and also especially the attorney, he proposed that the people who would have the potential to become members, that they would be qualified people like certified engineers, architects, and other professionals that have been in that line of working. So, of course, if you also promised that you would possibly bring us some list of people for us to consider.
We've identified 3 people so far. The building official is still looking. If you have any other names to proffer, then we can do it that way also. But we will have a list of names for you.
Okay. So next time we mention this item would be appointing people to it.
The next step would be to appoint people to the board. Yes, sir.
All right.
Tab F, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Finance at Article 3 entitled Procurement Code by amending Division 10 entitled Prohibition on Use of Expended Polystyrene. Is this a fancy way of saying plastic cups? To prohibit the use of single-use plastic beverage straws by city contractors and special event permittees in city facilities and on city property, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date.
All right, public hearing is now open. Public hearing is open on this item. F as in Frank.
Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. I just wanted to thank Ms. Keys for bringing this. I think as a waterway community, this is a great step, and I support it 100%, and a lot of cities are doing it, and thank you very much for bringing this to our city.
Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. This is really important for our city. This will bring us up to speed with what cities like North Miami Beach and Miami Beach are doing. It's the way forward to abandon the use of plastic straws. We can switch to other types of materials. There is a really chronic issue of pollution in our city and the amount of plastic that we're putting into the ocean. Shortly, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than there is fish. And 98% of the world's pollution in the ocean comes from rivers. And as a resident that lives on the river, I can tell you that we are sure contributing our share to that. So if we can't legislate to ban the use of straws, period, we can educate. So instead of legislating this, we can educate the residents to stop using straws, single-use plastic bags, and move away from plastic. This is also going to go towards the abandonment of the use of pesticides and herbicides as well, which is another main cause of pollution that we're contributing into the rivers. Thank you.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm wholly for all measures that take into account our environment. I've seen this type of legislation proposed elsewhere, and quite frankly, I'm confused. I certainly appreciate getting some of the plastic off, but I happen to do the garbage for our building and see other people walking the streets, and I rarely ever see somebody using a plastic straw. What I do see are thousands of water bottles. Thousands of water bottles that get thrown out, that get used each day, and there's no addressing that. Some years back, I believe it was a public NPR or something, or one of the public stations that actually it was on TV, that reviewed. There was a person interviewing a laboratory person, white coat, the whole thing, going over all these different water bottles, all these different things. It went on for a half hour, an hour, whatever it might have been. He goes through the different qualities and different minerals and different characteristics. In the end, she goes, well, which one do you use? And the guy goes, I don't use any of these things. I take it from the municipal because that's where they're all coming from. If you want to filter it, you can filter it. But I think there should be a promotion in our city to just stop using water bottles, period. If you want to filter it, like a Brita filter or something like that, you're much better off. You want to reuse your bottle 100 times, people aren't doing that. So I hope that after the straws, we can go on to other things, particularly the water bottles, and making some awareness of that. Thank you.
Good evening, Annie Montgomery, 2082 Laurel Lane. I have a suggestion for our city. At all these city functions, when there's plastic bottles and plastic glasses, why don't we have recycling bins out there? I never see any. And that's a disgrace. So why don't we start there? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. Thank you, Councilwoman Keys, for putting this forward. And as the parent of a 17-year-old kid, I'll tell you right now, it's front and center with these kids. I go out to the restaurant with my daughter, and Papa, don't use that straw. Don't. No, thank you. No, thank you. We were recently traveling, and the whole city, citywide, was completely banned of plastic straws in another state. Shuckers on North Bay Village does not allow straws in their restaurant, and they make a very big prominent sign, Save the Bay, no straws. I've been educated about 10 billion straws are manufactured a year, and they're saying it's, you got to start somewhere. You start with the straws. We started with the polyurethane, those styrofoam containers, and next we might do the water bottles. So as a community, we're going to help lead, and it's local businesses are already starting to do it. So I appreciate the effort you all are putting forward on this, and I tell you, the kids, the younger kids, are well aware of this. They've got portable straws that they use, and restaurants adapt very quickly. They get away with the plastics, they do away with the plastic straws, and they go back to the old-fashioned, for those of us who are older, with the old paper straws that fall apart after a while, but they're biodegradable. So thank you all for supporting this item.
All right, public hearing is still open. I don't know if former councilman is coming to the mic or if he's just making his grand entrance.
Grand entrance.
Okay, public hearing is now closed.
First, I'd like to thank our city attorney for getting this resolution drawn up so quickly. I wish I could do more. I wish we could tell all the businesses. I wish we could tell public stop with the plastic bags, the styrofoam. There are other cities, so I'm working forward with the attorney to maybe have a program in our city that is a volunteer program from our businesses and our restaurants, that they will get credit and volunteer to not use the styrofoam and the plastic straws. Last night for takeout, I got a styrofoam takeout container, and they asked if I wanted a plastic bag. I said, what, I need another plastic bag for the styrofoam? I think I'm going to start bringing Tupperware to the restaurants with me. I personally carry a cooler with me 24/7. I do not use my plastic bottles at home, so I hope that everybody will try to volunteer, get the businesses, stop accepting straws and whatever, and This is just the beginning, but I think it's about as much as we can do right now, so thank you.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve tab F. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Mayor Smith Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bieneme?
Yes.
And Councilman Nazume?
Yes.
Okay, item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab G, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 5 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Building Standards and Regulations at Article 5, Construction Fees and Regulations, Section 5-36 of the North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Construction Site Maintenance, to add a requirement that there shall be no accumulation of debris around construction sites, repealing all ordinance in conflict, providing a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, providing an effective date. That's tab G.
Okay. Public hearing is open.
Good evening, Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 120 Terrace. I thank you for this, bringing this, Mr. Gavin. But one thing that I would like for, if this is going to be for contractors, I hope that this will apply to the city as well. Because oftentimes when the city is doing projects, they don't necessarily clean it like it should be. I've seen concrete left, debris left, so I'm hoping that if this is required of private contractors, it will also be required of city personnel as well. Thank you.
Okay, public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just make a quick synopsis and then ask the city attorney for his input. In District 1, we've seen an explosion in the last year or two of building of new homes, and parts of District 1 have very narrow roads where you can see one construction project on one side of the street and another directly across. As a result, there are a lot of nails, a lot of debris, causing a lot of people to get flat tires. Long story short, I'd like to see our city contractors do a better job of, on a continual basis, not just at the end of the project, but on a continual basis, cleaning up of what's happening. I agree with Ms. Brown. It should extend to the city's construction projects. So if there's any language we need to add at this time, please let me know and I'll offer that as a friendly amendment.
That wouldn't be required because it's part of the ordinance. It would apply to any contractors in the city, whether it's employed by the city or privately.
The city.
What if it's Public Works doing it?
Yeah,
It would apply. Yeah.
No.
I mean, the what it says is that any construction site must be maintained. So the language when Councilman when Councilman Calvin spoke to me about this, we did the research and it actually existed in the code, but the language in the ordinance only talked about maintaining the construction site itself. And the issues that were coming up were issues outside the construction site. In this case, nails, but it could be anything. It could be a dumpster where things are falling out of the dumpster. So now it not only requires that the contractor maintain the construction site, but areas around the construction site. So it doesn't matter who the contractor is.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay, we need a motion.
Can I ask another question? So does this give us remedies if the debris is around the construction site? Now, first question, is there a remedy? So what is around and is it strong? I mean, I think this is great. Thank you, Councilman Galvin. Is there remedies? Can code enforcement go out and use this ordinance now?
Yes, so this is in our code, so it can be enforced by code enforcement. The issue was before there was nothing in the code that talked about outside the construction site. So this now gives this now provides the language that code enforcement can use to cite contractors who leave dirty sites outside of the construction site.
And with regard to construction fencing, at what point do you need it? It says it's for screening to secure the site, but is it not to make the site just really hideous to the neighbors? I mean, do you really want to look at a porta potty next door to you for a year? And we have a lot of those on, you know, in the neighborhoods with no fence. And also you've got the dumpster. So we have in our ordinance that we have an ordinance, a dumpster is instead of cleaning the property every day, but the dumpsters are like, and I know they're supposed to be clean, and that's code enforcement that's going to come knock on the door and say, empty your dumpster. But, you know, construction fences, I don't think there's enough on some of the construction.
Yes, Steve Bazil, building official for the city through the manager. Right now, we're enforcing it that if it is what's called an attractive nuisance, basically if the site is open so that it's more of a thing to secure the property and keep people off of it. So if it's an enclosed project that's mainly being done inside the house, right now we're not requiring the fences.
What about porta potties being open? They're not locked at night, are they?
They can be, if you want to. And right now, as far as what's going on, if the sites are not clean, my inspectors have been told stop work until the site is clean and no inspections.
Great, thank you.
All right. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab G. The motion was seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph. Councilman Dezume, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bieneme?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote.
Thank you,
Tab
Councilman.
H. Tab I. Good looking out. Good looking out. Tab I. Proposed ordinance, first reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Volume 1, Goals, Objectives, and Policies of the City of North Miami 2016 Comprehensive Plan, more specifically, the future land use element thereof in accordance with the requirements of Section 163.31843, Florida Statutes 2018, and Chapter 29, Article 3, Division 11, Section 3-1102A, and Sections 3-1105 through 3-1110 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances by amending the future land use element at Policy 1.183 to provide for residential use within the Northwest 7th Avenue Planned Corridor Development Overlay, PCD, as is permitted within other planned corridor development overlays, and to require a conditional use permit to allocate density bonus units in the PCD, providing for an initial hearing and subsequent transmittal of the proposed amendment to the reviewing agencies and or any interested local government or governmental agency for review under the expedient state review process, providing for an adoption hearing and subsequent transmittal of the proposed amendment as may be amended to respond to comments from the reviewing agencies to the State Land Planning Agency for a determination of completeness, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date. That was tab I.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, Tanya Wilson with the Community Planning and Development Department. The request before you is for a text amendment to the city's comprehensive plan. I'll walk you through the overview of the request that's being made tonight. Specifically at policy 1.18.3, currently within the PCD that runs along Northwest 7th Avenue on the west side of the city, no residential units are permitted within that district. So the request tonight is to allow for residential densities to be applied to that overlay district. The density that's being recommended is 125 dwelling units per acre. Staff is requesting that the process be the same as you're familiar with through the NRO, where a conditional use permit would be filed in the event a developer is seeking to develop along Northwest 7th Avenue. They would request bonus units come before City Council in the form of a resolution, and the City Council would make a determination as to whether or not those units would be allocated. This request is being brought as a result of the adoption of the Chinatown Master Plan. Council will recall back in 2017, this body adopted the Chinatown Master Plan, and within it were a series of recommendations, one of which was that residential uses should be considered as a permitted use within that district. So looking at the benefits, several developers that we've spoken to and also as highlighted in the feasibility study, it's highly believed that mixed use with residential is the highest and best use for that corridor. Currently we allow for mixed use, but residential is not allowed. And we believe that we increase the propensity for redevelopment and activation of that district if residential is now considered as a permitted use. Looking at the feasibility study, we know that there are several economic benefits that were highlighted. There's also the recommendation that with increasing residential densities there, it increases the options for housing. Currently, if you look at the city's zoning map, there's no multifamily uses that are permitted on the map that are west of North Miami Avenue. Everything on the west side of the city pretty much is single family, low density residential. So as a city that's promoting workforce housing and affordable housing, certainly it's one of the tools in our box that we should increase housing options by allowing for multifamily development where currently is prohibited in certain sectors of the city. Also looking at consistency with the comprehensive plan again, because several areas of the comprehensive plan require that these allocations be approved by conditional use permit. We're requesting that as a part of this request, if residential density is approved, that the mechanism that allows for that will be through a conditional use permit. And again, going back to the feasibility study, there is definitive and concrete evidence that allowing for mixed-use residential within that district, we see that there's a high demand for hotel uses on the west side, there's a high demand for retail, for office, but there's also a high demand for these three types of uses to have the complement of residential. It will only happen, and it would only happen successfully if we open up the market to this additional fourth type of use. In terms of the mechanism, because it is a comprehensive plan text amendment, we know that there's a state requirement that it be transmitted to DEO. Once it's transmitted to DEO, they have 30 days in which to weigh in and give a recommendation on the city's text amendment. Then DEO return that to the city. We have 6 months. If there are any changes that DEO recommends to the city, we have within 6 months to effectuate those changes. Once we've responded to any of DEO's comments or recommendations or objections, then it takes effect after second reading within 31 days. So we have a process that's state-related, then it comes back to the city for second reading.
All right.
And that concludes staff's presentation on the comprehensive plan text amendment.
Thank you. We'll open it to the public for any question or concerns. If not, we'll, I see two coming.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bayshore Drive, representing Minnie Sue Hendricks at 645 Northwest 132nd Street, my mother. This will be great for her. She has lived in this district with a couple other residents. This rezoning will accomplish two goals. It will help the people in that district sell houses that they haven't been able to sell over the last 30 years. And number two, will help the city gain its goal of revitalizing this business district. This is right, what Mrs. Wilson said. If you look up Dania Beach up on US 1, when they changed their zone, they attracted 4 hotels.
You can go to the other mic, Ms. Hatch.
They attracted 4 hotels. They attracted 4 hotels in their district between Stillen Road up to Griffin Road. So this will be a positive impact for the city. Thank you.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street, Sunkist Grove. I'm very concerned about this. First of all, the writing of this item has no consideration for the non-professional. No consideration for the understanding by a non-professional like me. But I object to high-density planning along the 7th Avenue corridor. In my view, it's planning for slum and ghetto development. And of that, I'm greatly opposed. Opposed to the planning of additional hotel on 7th Avenue and this high-density multi-family housing. would breed nothing but low-class living. Thank you.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'd like to speak in favor of this item, and I do hope that, in light of the concerns just expressed, that it not become, I think the word was ghetto. I believe that by having the additional density, by having a reasonable height, 200 feet and or more, will allow someone to redevelop properly. It was just a few years ago that across the city, basically, just as a rule of thumb, you could pass by a project that was nearly falling down and you could not replace that number of units at that property. Having pushed it, luckily that's been adopted by us. But the real message is you need to do more than what exists in order to get a quality project for someone to make an investment. I also applaud the fact that it's mixed use. By having it mixed use, this is going to make it more neighborhood friendly. It'll take cars off the street. It'll make it more convenient for the people who are there. And I hope also economically more incentive, and it'll balance out with the community. I think this will, in the end, lead for a safer neighborhood as well, something more desirable. And I fully applaud this measure, and I hope that we can then stay on top of the developers so that when the projects, whatever, I don't mean to use the word projects, when the buildings, when it's built out, that it is of quality construction with quality character. Thank you.
Judy Brown, Northwest 127th Avenue, 1100. I understand this proposal as it's written. What I understand is that it's sort of bringing us up to where all the rest of the city is. 7th Avenue, we can't continue. We need to move forward. I understand that some people don't see eye to eye, but we need housing. We need, and you have to have a sort of like a mixed use of this particular area on 7th Avenue in order for us to try to move forward. 7th Avenue has nothing there now, nothing at all. Our community, there's not a nice restaurants, there are no hotels. You know, I come to Biscayne sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. I would like for us to have something on over in Sunkist Grove. And this is a part of the master plan. I do understand what's going on. And I think that it is a step in the right direction. I really do. So I would like for, I would like to continue to move. And whenever there is construction or whenever there's a proposed plan, that will be brought to the residents over in Sunkist Grove. And we will have a chance at that particular time to voice our opinion on it as to whether or not, you know, is it good for the area, whatever. So I'm for this. Thank you.
Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. There's 5,000 people a week move to Florida, or South Florida, I believe it is. We're going to have an increase of 6 million people over the next 10 years in Florida. We can either keep building into the Everglades with these single-family homes, or we can go up. And all I can say with the most urgent message possible is that we talk about being storm ready. If you could see how many thousands of residents in this city live at and below sea level now, and all I ever hear in this city is no high density, height limits, don't let people build up. If you could see what's coming, you would get these people out of these neighborhoods that are doomed and create green space to take the water mitigation, to take the storm surge, to do something with the water, and you would get people that have no idea what's coming out of these areas and into high rises, not whatever the word was about low income or whatever. There can be nice developments. Things can happen proactively in our city to turn our city into a nice habitable place in the future. But if we keep with the same single family homes, no high rise, no high density living, we're going to have tens of thousands of people that are just going to lose their homes in a really horrible way. So it's really time to reevaluate where we're moving forward as a city. And the 7th Avenue, proximity to Golden Glades, 441 as a secondary road to I-95 to downtown, it is the perfect location to do high density. I would go high rise. I would build skyscrapers to Golden Glades. That's why there's so much traffic because people are trying to get everywhere. If you're close to Golden Glades, there on 441, this is the perfect area to do high-rise because it will alleviate traffic. And then in the future, perhaps we can have some kind of elevated rail or monorail to downtown and actually have a thriving, vibrant city that is sustainable through the rising sea level and climate change. But in areas of our city, like north of 135th and east of the Griffin Memorial Highway area, those neighborhoods are doomed. We've got to get those people out of there. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. I'd like to thank Councilman Alex for bringing this back up. It is your district, and I support it wholeheartedly. Regardless if Chinatown is ever completed or not, you need quality housing opportunities for the people who want to live in that area. It's in the Chinatown overlay, but again, whether Chinatown comes or not, let's allow developers and individuals to build and redo 7th Avenue. And as Howard was just saying, that Burger King that's on 7th Avenue is the second busiest Burger King south of Atlanta. That Polo Tropical that we had to beg people to come and build, it's one of the most highest grossing stores that they have. 7th Avenue is hot. 7th Avenue is going places. People want to live close to there, and we should give the people the opportunity to be able to live in a respectable, beautiful, new high-rise building over there. And again, as Judy said, when the developer comes and wants to build a new project, it's going to come before the Planning Commission and to the residents so they can get on board with it. But let's have that opportunity to do it, and I think we'll do very well with it. Thank you very much, and please support this item.
Mayor, Council, City Manager, Clerk, City Attorney, the policeman, for everybody. Think I get everybody. I'm making a joke out with it on something very serious. Jacques Despinos, 95 Nordius, 131 Street. It's about time. You guys thinking about doing something on 7th Avenue. When I was sitting there with some of you, there was some discussion about it. Trying to have one city. When you go in the east by Biscayne, then you went to 7th Avenue, it seemed like you were in two different cities. When I was there was a complaint. Remember? Now Commissioner Kawakis, at that time was Kawakis, right? We were working very hard about it. In fact, we come east side on 6th Avenue to see if something can be done with some building absentee landlord looked like prison. I was pushing one day to Tony Krapp when he was here to do something with the building. I don't want to put my finger in it now. I don't want to be sued. But every day we go and pick up trash in the morning to clean it. Your guy who live here know what I'm talking about. But now it's long overdue to do something on 7th Avenue. We were talking to do something on the west side of 7th Avenue. Do some high riser and put part of 7th Avenue, the west side, part of North Miami. I will appreciate anything can be done to help out. Please.
Thank you.
Give a push to 7th Avenue. They need it.
All right. Thank you very much. I see no one coming, so public hearing is closed on the item. Members of the dais.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item, this is one of those things, Judy, you could appreciate this as an educator. I wasn't on board with it because I'm involving learning as much as I can as I'm on here. And the administration and the professional Tanya department, and they they actually started telling me about the importance of housing. And I know there's a crisis in our community because I see it every day. We have residents right now who live in cars, and I have to work with Marie trying to get them housing. It's unfortunate, but it's real. And three of them are, well, one of them is one of my residents. So it's something that we're dealing with real. And it took me a little while for me to come around to understand that we need to do something. All this is doing, so that folks will know what this resolution is asking, is just to include housing, workforce, affordable housing. And a good friend of mine, who's a radio announcer, it's so funny, we mentioned this item came tonight because I did not know that our commissioner was coming. He took me out one day and sat down with me and said, we need to have something on 7th Avenue because there's nowhere to build in this city. And your district is all residential, which is true. I have 2 buildings in my district. And when he said that to me, he said, we got to do something. And I know that you don't want any type of development, and that's what this is about, because this will come back to the different boards and to the city council. The residents will have. We're not gonna take any crappy building or just any, whatever that word, I don't even want to use it, or entertain it. That was said before, but it's important that we understand. I've lived in that area for over 22 years, and the only new building that went up is a storage building on 133rd Street, right by 95. And the other one that went up is a Pollo Tropical that we kind of helped out. That's it. In the last 20 years, we don't even have a supermarket, a name brand supermarket.
Well, you have a Family Dollar.
No, we have a lot of Family Dollars. We have 2, maybe 3. Doubletree. There's a couple of them. So it's painful. New way, that's what I'm saying, the mom and pop. We have a mom and pop supermarket, and it's sad. It's 2019. So if we need to go shopping, we got to go outside to either Winn-Dixie or both sides of outside our city limit, or we come on the east side. So to your district, if you will, to Carroll's district. So it's the vision for 7th Avenue is there, and I'm passionate about it, and it has nothing to do with politics because it is what it is. I will not live this commission the same way I got it. And on 7th Avenue the same way I got it 4 years ago. And that's part of that. But it took me a while to get there. And you know, it says in politics, you know, it takes a person to say when they were wrong. But I was totally opposed to it because I did not understand it. And it took the administration, Mr. Manager, constantly talking to me about it, and then Tanya, and then Mr. Rothschild Anderson called me and say he's an advocate of it, and that's when I suggest to him, let's meet with the commissioner, because I know there was some stuff that I was talking about, because we were talking about some other projects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there are good stuff coming, and you are going to know what's the vision for 7th Avenue, and Mr. Burns, it's coming. Good stuff are going to happen. And for the support of everyone in this city, I must say, it hasn't been a West Side things when people talked about. We do have a lot of folks from everywhere who wants to see a stronger 7th Avenue where all of us, because guess what? When you uplift one area of the city, you uplift everybody. And we are, and we're on the map, and I want to say thank you to my colleagues because they have been part of that vision, Mr. Mayor, your vision of a city, what is it, City on the Move.
City on the Move.
So we've been moving, and we're going to continue going forward and stuff. So thank you, Ms. Brown. It took me a while. Mr. Manager, thank you, Tanya, and Mr. Anderson. If you're watching this, thank you for getting me here to understand housing is an important issue for me to get here. Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman.
Just briefly, I want to thank Councilman DeSulmi for allowing this residential. We changed the comprehensive plan in 2015, but we did not allow for the residential, and we gave it the height, but there's really nobody who's just going to be building office buildings. So it is just an ideal place for movement, for transit. You're right on I-95, so it's fabulous. Question to Ms. Wilson really quickly. If someone wanted to build just a residential project or 2-use, we have a 3-use requirement for multifamily. We've had to modify that for a couple other projects like over in Councilman Galvin's, because you're not really on a corridor where it's going to lend itself to commercial. So do we have to tweak that going forward? And also, if we had a hotel there, is a hotel allowed now, or will that be allowed?
It's one of the permitted uses currently.
Okay, so just a hotel.
Correct.
But what about residential? Do we need to tweak that for the uses?
So, if approved, it will allow for that residential component as a part of your 3 mixed uses.
But what
So
if you don't
currently,
have the
no.
other 2 mixed uses? Or-
You're required to have in order for it to constitute as mixed use. Otherwise, it would just be straight multifamily.
And
To
that's
be
not-
mixed use, you would need to have the component of either office, retail, residential, a
What we-
combination.
What we modified before was the amount of retail that was required on the ground floor. That would only be for when it's built on a
Major corridor.
commercial corridor.
So this is not on a.
Well, actually, this is on the commercial corridor.
So what if you've got like a block, and what if someone doesn't buy the whole block, so it doesn't sit on 7th Avenue, but it sits up along that Northwest 6 along the highway? That's my concern. If they don't take the whole block from that, I hate to call it perimeter road, that little road that nobody uses, and it goes all the way to 7th, you're not gonna have the corridor. That's where my concern is that.
So I think your question in terms of the previous text amendment, the manager is right. That was related to the types of uses that you have on the ground floor. So the code, the way it reads now, is the ground floor has to be primarily retail if it's on a major corridor. If it's on 125th or it's on 7th. If it's on a local road that's not a major area that you have high pedestrian traffic, then they're allowed to have residential on the ground floor.
Okay, so we've already taken care of that.
We did, yeah. So it's
Okay.
really activation of the ground floor is what you're
Thank
looking
you.
for.
Just a quick question. It's on east of 7, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this area is on the opportunity zone map?
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's in the opportunity.
A
district.
portion.
7th Avenue.
Is that
the whole thing?
The opportunity zone? It's the northern
It
portion.
covers a
The
portion
northern?
of Northwest 7th.
What do you mean,
Talk
the
about
northern?
So I think it's
135th
from
to
around
143rd?
130, I think it's at 135th
To
Yeah,
143rd?
to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, 135th to the city limits.
Okay, for 143rd.
Wait, so, oh, really?
The opportunity
The opportunity
So
zone.
it's skip 125th?
No. So the opportunity zones are
Mhm.
these new qualifying zones
Yes.
for the tax incentive
Yeah.
under the Trump tax plan. They selected 3 in the city.
Yes, I know.
So one of them is on 7th Avenue, but the one that
That's what I'm saying.
the census tract that they selected
Mm.
is the northern portion of 7th
Ew.
Avenue within the city. So, no,
Yeah.
it's still
It's still the city.
it's still
So
the
it
city.
starts on 135th?
On 135th.
Or by that gas station to 143rd?
And goes north.
So what about down
car
south?
wash.
It doesn't include
No,
that?
Does not include.
Who do we need to talk to? Trump?
No,
We ain't talking to him. We're not
That's a lot
talking
of
to him.
things. That's
Right.
Okay.
state and state
Yeah,
actions
it
and-
goes.
the
It goes
governor
to the
who-
state. The state makes the recommendation, and the treasury
Yeah.
makes the
But one
final
of the
decision.
reasons is the big golden.
So what size,
Golden Glade
what project
coming.
size are considered in this opportunity zone?
Whatever.
Whatever.
Any size,
Any size.
any
Yeah,
project?
Any size.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be residential. It
Is
can be
Russia
commercial. It can be a lot of things.
Sometimes the amount of money that
I
you're gonna
see.
make
That's yeah.
make
Okay.
sense.
We got you.
Thank you, Madam Director. Did we open?
You closed it.
Oh, we closed? Okay. Any other comment? No? All right, we need a motion.
I'll make a
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve tab I. That motion was seconded by Councilman Desulme. Or Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Desulme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes 5-0. Tab H, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances by amending Article 3, Division 4, entitled Conditional Uses, specifically at Section 3-401, entitled Purpose and Applicability, and at Article 3, Division 13, entitled Development Agreements, specifically at Section 3-1301, entitled Purpose and Applicability. Further, amending Article 4, Division 3, entitled Special Purpose and Overlay Districts, specifically at Section 4-306, entitled Planned Corridor Overlay District PCD, to establish residential density in the State Road 7, Northwest 7th Avenue, PCD, and require a conditional use permit for development within the PCD, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, codification, and for an effective date.
So this item is actually a companion item. It's not a duplication. So the one that you approved before was for the comprehensive plan. This item is a request for the text amendment to the land development regulations. So it would allow for consistency between the two documents. It's the same district, same area. You're just now doing it for the land development regulations.
Okay, public hearing is now open. See none, hear none. Public hearing is closed. It's a tax amendment. Should be good for everyone, right? I hope.
Northwest 125 Street, Sunkist Grove. Again, there's no effort made in your writing of this tab so that non-professional can clearly understand what it means. I'm firmly against the high residency density of 7th Avenue. This high density will contribute to making 7th Avenue a slum and a ghetto. They have a name for a place where there are single-family homes. It's called a suburb. We in Cambria, we in Sunkist Grove, we are a suburb of the city of North Miami and a suburb of Miami. That's part of our charm. And I want to see that maintained. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is now closed on the item. Mr. Councilman? No. There is nothing to say? No? Well, we need a motion.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Desormeaux to approve tab H. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
You step up for a second.
Councilman Desormeaux, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bien-Aimé, how do you vote on tab H?
Yes.
Item passes 5-0. Tab J. Proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendment to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulations by amending Article 4, Division 2, entitled Zoning Districts, specifically at Section 4-203, entitled Minimum Standards of Development, to include additional setbacks, restrict uses, increase buffering, and limiting building orientation and height requirements for certain M1 zone parcel, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and for an effective date. Tab J.
Thank you. For the record again, Tanya Wilson with the Community Planning and Development Department.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
since I own a portion of this district, I'm going to recuse myself and leave the dais.
No, because you live in the district?
No, I own.
Oh,
I own a couple lots of the.
Okay.
A large portion of the lot.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But again, Mr. Attorney, if she doesn't I mean, immediately benefit from any of this? I mean, is that really required?
Actually, in this
This
case,
is for the entire, I mean,
actually, in this case, she would.
oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's best that she recuse herself.
That's it? Oh, it's open to the public now? Or now it's your
No, you
turn?
told me to stop.
No, go ahead.
For the record, Tanya Wilson with the Community Planning Development Department. This is a request for a text amendment to the city's land development regulations. The request is being sponsored by Councilman Galvin. It's to section 4-203 of the LDRs. Back in 2017, when the city updated the entire LDRs, a new industrial district was established along Northeast 13th Avenue, south of Northeast 124th Street. At that time, Councilman Galvin asked that staff go back and look at adequate buffering language to ensure where the two districts met between the industrial and the neighboring single-family neighborhood. There was adequate buffering language there to ensure that there was harmony between the two dissimilar uses. So staff went back, crafted recommended language, which we're proposing in the ordinance that's before you. So I'm going to walk you through some of the details that are provided within that proposed ordinance. So the area again is the M1 zone area that's south of Northeast 124th Street between Northeast 12th Place and Northeast 13th Avenue. Again, the staff is seeking to provide harmony within the code between the two dissimilar districts that neighbor primarily along Northeast 12th Place. So looking at the details of the ordinance itself, you'll see that there's new language being introduced in section 4-203 that limits certain uses. So specifically, there's prohibition for businesses, industrial businesses that do fabrication, manufacturing, assembling, or processing materials. The language that's being proffered says that anything that emits any type of smoke or gas or odor or dust or noise, vibrations, anything that is industrial in nature of that sort would be contained in an enclosed building. That's not in the code right now, and that language is being proffered to ensure that that's contained. Anything that would be a potential nuisance would be contained within an enclosed building. There's also language regarding fence type. So it's recommending that an 8-foot fence or wall be established along Northeast 12th Place to create that separation again between industrial and single-family uses. There's an increase in the setback in the rear yard. Currently in the code, if you're a single-family, the rear yard would have the setback of 15 feet. In this case, in the industrial district, 15 feet. In this case, it's recommended at 25, so it's even greater than what's in the code currently. Also, in terms of the orientation of the businesses, again, I mentioned that now the two uses abut each other. There's industrial on the east side, there's residential on the west side. So the recommendation is that none of the industrial businesses would be oriented towards, if you could think, looking westward, would not be oriented towards a single family. So the two fronts would be looking at each other. Instead, the orientation would have to look eastward for the industrial uses. So those would be facing towards the train tracks instead. There's also language in terms of the signage, that there be no commercial signage along Northeast 12th Place where there is a residential presence currently. The Planning Commission did review the ordinance itself, and their recommendations were in terms of the existing single family that's there now. They're saying if there's single family units that seek to continue as single family units, but they're within the industrial districts, that they should not be subjected to some of the setback requirements of the 25 feet. They should be allowed to have the 15 feet that they currently have within the code. So they would be grandfathered in, essentially. In terms of the fence type also, they're recommending that there's a solid metal fence or a CBS masonry wall that's recommended along Northeast 12th Place. In terms of the Planning Commission's recommendations, those were unanimously proffered, and they're seeking for City Council concurrence with their recommendations at this time. In terms of the item, of course, this is only first reading. We're bringing that before City Council for your consideration. This is staff's effort, again, to create harmony between the two districts, to include additional buffering language. If City Council has any questions at this time, staff is available to answer.
Yeah, we'll open it to the public first. Public hearing is now open on the item. Item J, as in Jack. See none, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed. Jesus. Y'all know it was coming.
Well, they're ready to come up. William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm in favor of any gesture that can be made to make some consideration of the residential neighborhood in this little enclave. I think they seem to be good measures. I'm glad the Community Planning and Development have fostered these initiatives, and I hope they help to somehow keep the residents of that neighborhood a little bit more satisfied with their immediate community. Thank you.
All right.
My name's Giovanni Lobo. I'm a property owner at 12300 Northeast 13th Avenue. I'm seeing all these restrictions, and I see all these things that they're putting up on our properties, basically taking away our rights. One of the couple of things I see here is the train itself does earth vibrations and noise, and now they're going to give us a restriction that's already existing, like doesn't exist. So why they want to give it to us if we live next to an M1 industrial district? So I don't think we should get that done to us. I want to keep my property. I'm going to live there, but I don't want to get my rights taken away if we've been changed to M1 industrial. Thank you.
Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard, also owner of Urban Habitat 12304, Northeast 13th Avenue. So I vividly remember Dr. Medina coming into my nursery and shoving his finger in my face and telling me that I had to build a fence there, that there had to be a fence. And I was like, no, but this can be something so nice for the neighborhood and the community, and I'm sorry it's not a park, but it's a nursery and it's pretty close to a park, and it's butterflies and birds and it's endangered species, and it can be something really nice for the neighborhood. No, you're gonna build the wall. Okay, let's build the wall. So then my landlord went to tremendous expense to build the wall, and then this guy turned around and sued my landlord for building the wall. And then now we want the wall. So I'm just wanting to get some clarity on where we are with the wall. Then we had the planning commission meeting, and then we were back to this language about industrial uses and outside of a building and so on. So it can be construed or manipulated or interpreted as I have an industrial business that's occurring outdoors, as it's a nursery. We don't just vibrate earth, we put it in pots, shift it, move it. We do all sorts of things with the earth. This also says no lighting, like, so there's no lighting? Can we have no lighting? It's like, then we changed that language so it wouldn't preclude my nursery, but then now there's language in here that's taking away people's property value. This gentleman that just spoke is going to lose so much of his property value because we're taking away his height, we're adding to the setback, and then it's also saying that if there's an industry occurring, that then the fence has to be replaced by a masonry fence. So we had that meeting, then we had the community meeting where there was all kinds of amazing requests made, and the next day at my nursery, the very expensive fence gate had been smashed. The very next day after that meeting, the nursery had been smashed, and there was all this voodoo outside the gate. Right? I could go on and on about that, but I must respect the 2 minutes. But as a business owner, I can really empathize with developers and business owners in this city about the really curious things that go on in this city.
All right.
Hello, my name is Marisol Medina. I live at 1270 Northeast 124th Street. I think that the improvements were nice. The height restrictions, I understand, the signage, the enforcement that we're putting in so that if crazy things do come there, we don't have to worry about them, like spot masters or heavy paints and heavy things that make it hard for you to breathe and be outside in your house. And I'm grateful for the amendments and the collaboration that occurred. And I'm sorry that that happened to his business. It sucks when people throw chickens and stuff and all that in your house. Seen it a lot in our neighborhood. Other concerns were, operating hours and construction that occurs. Currently we had the restrictions that, they can only operate during the business hours when it comes to construction. I hope that that continues to apply in the zones when it comes to holidays and weekends. That's it. I'm gonna stick with that. I'm grateful. Thank you guys.
Good evening. My name is Alina Medina. I live at 1270 Northeast, 124th Street. thank you, Mr. Galvin, for bringing us up when you did a couple of years ago. And thank you for the planning group for doing such a good job. I really am very thankful to have these amendments done to protect the lives and the quality of life of those that live there. You know, it's just, we can live together with businesses. There's nothing against the nursery at all. Actually, we welcome the nursery coming there. It's just a matter of protecting us and being able to sit in our living room with no fumes, no noise, so that really makes our day. So thank you very much.
My name is Paul Swanson. I'm a resident of 12340 Northeast 12th Place, literally touching right across from this property. And I just want to say thank you. They really went out of their way to listen to the residents' concerns, and I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Thank you. Members of the council, this is your time to speak.
Sure, I'll be quick, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
My motivation for bringing this forward is because I heard from so many residents in that immediate vicinity who wanted to see these types of change. I don't have a horse in that fight or whatever they say, but normally I would defer a question like that to the District 2 council person. Since she has a conflict, I then move the legislation myself for consideration by the council. But it comes directly from the suggestions of the nearby property owners.
Any comment? Any other
Yes,
question?
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Drew, is this type of requirement, is it being done anywhere else where we have M1 industrial district in the city?
There are restrictions in the M1 district elsewhere, not specific to this type of language buffering. For instance, we've had minimum lot size, we've had transition zones, so it's not unusual to have restrictions within this type of district.
No, I know, and I want to be in favor of this, but I don't want it to be where it's specifically limited to one area because of.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tanya, but I don't think there's another place in the city where you have M1 adjacent to R1 zoning. That's why this is unique.
M1 adjacent to a residential, you're
Yeah,
saying?
single family. There's
No,
there's
there is a
other-
M1. Well, in my area, is a building does not consider living.
No,
it's just
no,
house.
there's
We
no-
talking about
It's the difference, the commercial versus the industrial.
so it's commercial versus the industrial. So the homes that he's talking about, his property, those are not residential. They are commercial.
That's where
So on the street, the 13th Avenue.
Yes.
To the east is an industrial area.
Yes.
To the west is a residential area.
Yes.
But that block, you have the block itself where these properties are. The tip of the northern end of the block is commercial. The rest of it is industrial. However, the uses that are currently there are residential homes.
Yes.
Right now.
Got it.
But if a person buys one of those properties tomorrow, they can do a auto body shop or whatever those industrial uses are. What the buffer is doing is on the west side or the back side, it'll create a buffer. They'll be required to put a wall or something.
They don't say wall because I'm not voting on the wall tonight. Okay.
Landscaping and
fence,
setbacks,
fence.
fence. Well, it is a wall too. Metal wall, a metal fence, or it could be a wall, depending on what the use is. No, it has to be a metal fence, a metal solid fence.
A metal fence. So
That's
If
behind
it's
the
commercial.
storage, behind the storage facility.
No?
Across.
No, across the street.
Across
On the other side of the street.
Yeah, the same street.
okay.
The same street as Spotmaster.
Same street, just on the other side of the street.
But
Same
wait,
street as Spotmaster.
Councilman Galvin.
same street, okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
No.
But I think Councilman Galvin has something similar on 18th Avenue. No, they're
No,
across the
'cause
street.
his
Because you got residential on that side.
they share
a
the
street?
difference is they share. Well, actually, in
His
your
is the
area,
same
it's another
thing.
city.
Right, it's unincorporated.
It's unincorporated, so it's not our city.
Okay.
That-
So
that
where
boundary.
what's his name, Mr. Ross, where those people wanted to rent to put their car, what the car dealership
Audi,
place?
Audi.
That's not ours?
Yes, that is.
That's what I'm saying.
But the area.
Oh, across from it,
is
those
not-
houses are not?
No.
They did it.
Unincorporated
Oh,
area.
okay. I did not know that part. Okay. All right. My other, I don't have a particular concern or a dog in the fight. I just don't want, because we got to be careful. We are talking about folks' property, but we heard one person who said their property value may go up. May go down. Yeah, if it was going up, it'll be good. My concern is the word wall, the concrete. That's a wall. Yeah, the metal is fine, but it's just the concrete. That's the.
Let me try to lay
That's
your
a
let me-
CBS,
let-
CBS concrete, yeah,
Yeah.
concrete wall.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Let me lay your
Yeah.
concern right now. Behind Spot Masters, there is a wall.
Yeah, exactly.
All
That's fine.
all we're talking about is you would, if it's industrial use, you would just continue a wall.
Oh, okay. On which side? That's what
On
I'm
the
confused.
12th place.
12 going, 12 place
Going south.
Okay.
Going south.
Going south. So behind the people's house.
Or
in front.
In front of their house.
That's right. So if you have the street there, and in the back, that's what I thought. So in the back of their house.
Yes, in the back of the
Okay, that's what I'm on that street behind
Is that
Spot
13, is it 13th Avenue
It's
or
13th.
13th Court?
Avenue. It's
Yeah.
behind. Okay.
People living on that street, they're okay with the way it is. It's people in the back
To the west.
that will not change the people of front property. Is it correct? If I understand.
If I were to characterize it, it would be the residential homeowners to the west of the block.
On 12th place.
On 12th place.
Correct.
With their houses
Yeah,
are
in the
facing,
back.
yeah, with
Yeah.
their houses facing
In the
east.
back.
Oh, okay.
What is the
If
step
IT
back
could
right
show the
now
diagram,
behind those single family home?
What's the step back time? It's 15
right
feet.
now.
For the backyard, it's
Mhm.
15 feet. For the rear yard, for the
They will
single
not be
family
affected
structures.
by this.
They're grandfathered in, but it comes
In
into
case
play if they knock
someone
it down
else
and try to
comes in.
rebuild it. Then the planning commission's recommendation was let them stay at that 15. Don't burden them with going to 25 if they're going to remain as a house.
So they want to change the use from housing.
No,
to-
the step
from
back, they want to do
back to-
to
The rear
25
yard
feet
setback.
instead of 15 the way it is right now.
So they want to
Okay.
create a store, a commercial, the same thing.
It's 25.
25.
25 would
okay.
kick in.
How is going to affect the transit station?
Well,
May.
the overlay district, based on the master plan, would cover a portion of 13th Avenue, but it wouldn't touch 12th Place. So it's shy one
No, I'm not
street.
talking about in the back. I'm talking
Yeah.
about
It would
30.
cover a portion of, a
Yeah.
portion of 13.
No, I'm
We're
talking
talking
about that,
right now.
the new
right now,
legislation in what.
Let me
Mhm.
make this statement. Right now, we're talking theoretical in the master plan because we still have to bring all of that
Correct.
legislation back to you to decide exactly where the boundary will be. In theory, from the master plan, it will end at 13th at 13th Avenue,
Including those.
including that
Spot
side,
Master
including that
and
side.
those
Yes.
single family homes, right?
Yeah,
The
whatever is there,
nursery,
whatever is existing
those-
there now.
those section.
Yes.
Okay. In what capacity is going to affect? Oh, that's when it's going to come back.
Back
for-
to you
we
to
have to
decide
do a map
what the
amendment.
buffer is, what the density, the height,
The
you know,
boundaries.
the boundary, everything.
All right.
Okay, why we have to change the
need to
step
vote.
back from 15 to 25?
So the idea was within the buffering to create even greater separation between the two dissimilar uses. So if the 15 was closer for industrial to residential, the idea is that the 25 would push you even further apart to create even more space between the two.
So
Because right now I see a lot of landscaping in the back
In the rear.
at 15 feet.
So it's for the council's consideration. That was
yeah, it's kind of it's the concrete part that I'm having a little hard time with. So what can we do with that?
So there's still a 5 feet landscaping requirement. So quite honestly, Councilman, you won't see it unless you're really looking for it. If it's lushly landscaped, then it's not as hard, the presence of that wall. So it's not just a naked wall, it's covered by landscaping.
We need a motion.
I was waiting to see if there were any. I'll make the motion, assuming there's no further discussion.
Do I have a second?
Without a second, it dies
Well, I'll second it.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab J. That motion was seconded by Mayor Joseph. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
No.
Councilman Desaulniers, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Motion dies.
Motion fails, 2 to 2.
Motion dies.
Item fell 2-2.
Item.
Yeah.
Tab K. Discussion regarding Reflections Funeral Home application for special exception permit.
Mayor and Vice Mayor are both off the dais. Everybody gets a raise. Move to adjourn.
Yes, Mr. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Can you read tab? What is this?
I take that back. The Vice
Tab
Mayor's
K.
right there. I forgot.
Yes. Can you give me a quick overview, Mr.
Yes.
Attorney, about the item?
Okay,
Discussion-wise,
May I?
before us?
So what's before you, well, this is a discussion item. The attorney for the applicant for a special exception permit, there was an application, it went to the Board of Adjustment, and Board of Adjustment denied it. They were required, I believe they filed their appeal on time, but now there's a request. Well, I'd rather he tell you the request.
I'll be very brief if I may.
No, but yes, sir. Give me a second, but you sponsor the item to be on the agenda. That's when you got to give us why it's in there. This is the first time I see that.
This is a request from an attorney who's representing an applicant from the Board of Adjustment who's asking to come before you to have a discussion item. That's what I'm sponsoring.
Okay. That's the first time I see that happen.
Well, I mean, as I said last time, there is a procedure. The procedure is, if you go to Board of Adjustment and your item fails, you can appeal to the council as the zoning appeals board, or the applicant can go back and reapply, which is what myself and the attorney spoke about. But he still insisted that he wanted to come in and seek some relief from you. We had another discussion.
He should be allowed to be heard.
It's up to you if you want to.
We'll be
but
very
you
brief.
put it on the agenda. That's when you
I put
okay
it on
with
the
that.
agenda because it's an attorney who's asking that he wants to come speak to the board. If he
Okay.
didn't, if we didn't put him on the agenda, he could still come during public comment and still make the
Okay,
same request.
okay.
So
That's what I
just,
would- that-
as a
that's what
courtesy,
I
we
would-
put it on the agenda.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Councilman, thank you. I'm Frank Woland, and with me this evening are Mr. Joseph Pierre and his daughter Inel Simon, and they are here for Reflections Funeral Home. Frankly, our issue has been resolved by the city attorney and the deputy city attorney and staff and planning staff. We were going to ask the council to remand this back to the Board of Adjustment. We have been able to establish a workable procedure so that we can reapply. Our situation is one which was really one of where the issue became one of parking. We have made a parking agreement with a neighbor, with the Shalom Community Church, and because the circumstances have changed, and now there will be available off-site parking, we will resubmit our request to the Board of Adjustment, and we thank you for listening to us. And again, I have nothing but praise for the city attorney and for city staff, because they're certainly very competent, and very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will not have public hearing on the subject because it's just discussion. We're not going to make any decision on it.
I just want to know, how does it get back on here when it was already discussed that it wasn't going to pass, and now every time I turn around, it's in the paper that they're coming back again?
Can you say that your name and your
My
address?
name is Mary Tangway. I live at 13295 West Dixie Highway. And we've already brought this to the whole thing, and it's been canceled, and then they bring it back. They slip it in the paper. We have to be diligent in watching it so we can at least show up so that we can find out what's happening, that they keep on disputing what went down. And now it's all coming back again?
Let me return the mic to the mayor because the mayor is there.
Is a hot mic? Is a hot mic?
No.
But I think the blind leading the blind here. I mean, what are we doing, you know?
What is it?
But I think as a resident, you are allowed to put an item on the agenda the same way the attorney is allowed to put a discussion item on the agenda. I don't think...
Right, but my idea was that I thought that when it was turned down by the top, the next step for them to do was to go to the courts rather than wasting the councilman's time
It's a
here every
discussion.
time.
We're not making any decision on it.
I believe procedurally, if I can clarify, they were denied by the Board of Adjustment. It is within their rights to appeal back to the Board of Adjustment, and they're going to exercise that right. There is no discussion to be had tonight by the council, nor any vote.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to let you know how I felt about this. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if you allow me, I'm a little confused. Mr. Attorney, help me. So the item was denied by...
But if I remember correctly, Mr. Attorney stated very clearly, very eloquently, that the standard would be for them to appeal it to the board, and that you would recommend us not to even discuss it.
Yeah, but how did it...
Is it still your...
That is still my recommendation.
Okay.
I mean, we again, as he said, I think, it's resolved. I mean, we resolved it this afternoon. He still wanted to address you all, but yeah.
Oh, so the item already been resolved?
Oh,
okay.
I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So now we in Citizen Forum?
Allow me to clarify one more time.
Okay, he has, okay. I know this happens several times when we have these issues in the city. Just because an item gets turned down by a board doesn't mean the applicant doesn't have the right to reapply. So this applicant is going to reapply, which is one of his rights. He could
Before the board.
appeal. He could either appeal before you, or he could start the process all over again, put a new application in, which is what we told him he needed to do in the first place. So he's going to, by the code, go ahead and reapply and go through the Board of Adjustment all over again, make his arguments again. The residents can come out and go against it if they want to, but he's allowed to do that under the code.
Where do we go from here? This is it?
Citizen Forum.
Okay. Citizen Forum is now open for anyone who wants to be heard for 2 minutes at a time.
Good evening, Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bayshore Drive. I want to congratulate the city for holding a meeting last Thursday on February the 21st, on Thursday night, about the 125th Street Business District. I just want to bring it to the city council, some issues that we need to consider. Number one, we should do the pipes first. The mains run down the middle here between 6th and 10th Avenue. We need to do the pipes before we tear up before we do anything with the streets, or we enlarge the sidewalks, or we do anything with the lighting. Number two, we should be doing it in phases, so we migrate the cause of it instead of doing it in one big lump. Number three, we should extend our downtown business district. We're thinking small. We did that back in 1979, and I was in high school. They only did 2 blocks, from 6th Court to 7th Avenue. They did the 2 south blocks, and they put in these concrete ugly barriers and islands. And they put in trees that block the signs. This time we should look at Northeast 4th Avenue to 14th Avenue where the Tri-Rail station is. And number 5, we should look at what other cities do, like Oakland Park, Delray Beach, Wharton Manors. We should be the leader instead of just going back and just doing things like we done 40 years ago. Thank you.
Ms. Ashton?
Jessica Alston, 1140
Alston.
North.
Sorry. I mispronounced your name, so.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street, Sunkist Grove. I stand today with a concern about the the redesigning of the outside of Sasso Pool. It appears, I am not an architect, but it appears that there are benches, concrete benches that have been placed there. For what purpose, I don't know. Every other project that is done, always the community is consulted and gives a contribution to the development of the plan. It hasn't been done in this case. Those benches will only cause loitering, crime, and every kind of despicable thing that could happen. It is definitely not in the interest of our community, Sunkist Grove, to have concrete benches outside the front of Sasso Pool. And secondly, I want to know, where can I find the financial information about the Black History NOMI Music Festival? Did I get an answer? No?
Yeah, the manager will make sure that we'll see to it that you get that.
Is it posted? Is it posted?
Make a public records request, ma'am. Just send an
Make a
email.
public record request?
All you have to do, actually, if you're requesting it, it's a public records request right now. So
I
just
am
make sure-
requesting it.
Okay, so just make sure someone has your email address, and we'll get it to you.
Yes, I'm requesting a public records request of the financials for the Black History NOMI Festival and after party. Thank you.
Alina Medina, 1270 Northeast 124th Street. And I thought I would just play for you how the, maybe I have had sound, how this sounded. The dry cleaner we had next to our house. We went to court, the city of North Miami went to court for this reason. It's known that we don't have a buffer zone between the industrial, and they're gonna make money, being that these houses that are in this industrial zone, they're gonna make money. I guess not enough money, so we're gonna be not protected. There's no buffer zone. And you, Mr. Desolme, and Mr. Biename, I cannot believe that you voted the way you did. You know, what if your house was there? Would you care? It is like a shamble. You had two people here to speak against it, and all the other ones that came to live in my neighborhood vote to protect our area. You do nothing. It makes me really think what's going on.
Again, good evening, Mayor Council Jacques Despinos, 95, Northeast 121 Street. I'm glad to hear what I hear tonight about 7th Avenue. The mayor said the city is on the move, but not Northwest was not on the move. Now we can see the city in West Side is on the move.
It's always been on the move.
Always on the move.
Yeah.
Okay, now city 7th Avenue is open for business. So, please, guys, thank you very much to look after 7th Avenue. Thank you.
Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. Two things that I think are really important in our city right now is really important to our quality of life in this city, and it's getting so much worse. I can't believe how many accidents. It's like a war zone coming down 125th Street. Is accident after accident. Sarah McDivitt's store got smashed. There's accidents all the way down the street. I really think we should quadruple whatever the budget is for the police, for traffic. Please quadruple it. Our streets are just not safe. They're really not safe. It's crazy the amount of accidents. I know that there was a cyclist that was killed last year on 125th, right by Northeast 13th Avenue. And the other thing is the litter. I pick up a bag of litter every single day in front of my house. These people don't even live in our city. I've got gridlock in front of my house 3 times a day. It's crazy. The traffic is crazy. The people drive through our city and they litter. Can we please quadruple whatever the fine is for littering, and please enforce it and give the police the budget to enforce it? Because it just feels like people come through our city, they drive however they want, they drive 70 miles an hour down 125th Street. It's crazy. We've got the gangs of the motorcyclists coming through the city. It's unbelievable. But the amount of trash and the accidents, it's really affecting our quality of life now. And I really wish it was something we could do something about now. Because it's always seems to be things later on, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But I'm really, really, really tired of picking up trash every day. And I think everyone's getting sick of it. And it just sort of snowballs. It's like, oh, well, there's trash here. I'll just throw this out my car. But if you go to Biscayne Park, they would never dream of putting trash out the cars or littering there or speeding or doing all that they do in our city. So please give the police the resources to make our city a better quality of life for our residents right now. Thank you.
Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. I just wanted to kind of mention from what Howard was saying that I would really appreciate if the council would reconsider their no votes on the Clean City Initiative, cleaning the downtown. I believe there was a request to provide funding for the downtown to get cleaned, and I know it's a small piece of the downtown, and it's kind of expensive at $400,000 for a year. But at the same time, we spend so much money on things that are kind of a one-hit wonder, one night of concerts, all these different things. And what we'd be providing for our residents is a clean downtown. And our downtown reflects the entire city and all of the people who live here. And so I think that would be a wise use of our money. Maybe we can get a little bit of a better deal. But I would really appreciate to live in a place that's cleaner with less litter, and I think it starts in our downtown. So I'd like that to see that come back around and have a positive vote. Thank you.
Hector Medina, 1270 Northeast, 124th Street. What you just did, the two of you, is that you have provided the tools for somebody to put a factory next to my house that can operate 24/7, 365, just like Postmaster did. That's what you just did. If somebody buy a property there and want to put a factory with chimneys and whatever they want, that's what you just did. Yeah, you did, because you didn't vote for, you vote against it and you let it die. So a factory can be put there. I was there when Ms. Tanya came with these zoning changes. I was there. So was 2 more of my neighbors. We opposed that, and we were assured by the council person in District 2 that those changes will never happen on zoning on that area. To keep quiet about it, and that they were going to build a park. That's what she said to me, and she said it in front of Mr. Houston and Ms. Alston that was there. So now this is what you did. I kept quiet all this time, and I didn't sue Councilperson Keys. Now I will now, and I will go to the Ethics Commission and I will put a complaint. And you guys just threw away your election in May. For what? For what?
William Previtel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. On a lighter note, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the beginning of The Simpsons. And at some point, I think Homer or something, and a radioactive bolt flies up, and there's a sign in the back that says, how many days without an accident? That's a real thing. That there were days in factories and mines of how many days without a death or an accident. And I was thinking earlier that how proud I am of our council, that they've been going quite a few hearings with a really good track record, and without too much drama, and with really clear thought, and I think very productive decisions. Just in light of, there was one thing though today that seemed to be a little bit at odds, and that is the vote that was taken that was split 2-2. It seems like that really was intended to give some solace to the people of that neighborhood who have really been through the ringer. We've seen the problems for however long, months and months, if not years. And if that could give them a little bit of peace of mind, a little bit of increasing the quality of that particular neighborhood, it's just a small enclave, I don't think it would really do harm to the manufacturing sector. I think it helps us overall, might increase their property value, which helps the city. I believe that if there is a dissenting vote, a no vote, I believe that can be brought up. And if possible, I think that would be a noble thing to do if you might reconsider. Just for consideration, I'm sure it'd be appreciated by many. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Kevin Burns again. Mr. Mayor, I got to say the beard works well on you. You're looking very healthy. You're looking younger. You know,
I think I might keep it then.
So, two things I want to touch on real quick is if you've been by Mary's Pet Shop and the new mural being painted, it's being painted by a local North Miami native young man who's doing a great job on it. But it's so refreshing to see, instead of just a blank wall, that we're starting to have this artwork. I know there are some people who don't necessarily like it, but it's really attractive and really made that
it's beautiful.
Beautiful work there, and really glad to see that. The other thing is, at a previous meeting, you all put, rightfully so, a moratorium in place on administrative variances so that you have time to reflect and get a handle on them. But one of the issues that keeps popping up, and some people have called me about it, is that I was always on the understanding that if I had a small boat and I wanted to park it in the side of my house or in my backyard, that it was perfectly fine as long as it was screened by, you couldn't see it from the street. Well, apparently, I gotten several calls that people are now getting cited for having a boat in their backyard or the side yard that they've been there for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and all of a sudden they're getting cited. Well, the remedy to allow you to have a boat in the side of your house, according to the new interpretation, is that you can get an administrative variance. So you now can't get an administrative variance because there's a moratorium in place for 6 months. So people in the public, our residents, are getting cited currently for having a boat that they've always had there, and there's no remedy. So you have code enforcement doing one thing, and then the remedy isn't there right now for them to do.
Right.
We need to be fair to the residents and address this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Marisol Medina at 1270 Northeast 124th Street. I want to jump on the bandwagon with the trash pickup. That'd be really great. I also pick up a lot of trash, not only in my neighborhood, but when I get stuck at the light getting off of the highway, which is like a landfill right there. Nice guy giving away flowers, and then there's trash all alongside. Also, it is sad that the movement did not move forward because the only complaints that I heard were, the setback in the Mason wall for the whole thing to go back after it took, a better part of a year or two to get moving forward, and everybody was working together on that. Hope we can in some way bring that back and maybe work on those two issues, which seem to be the only ones to throw everything back. I'm going to stick with that. I thank you guys for the efforts that you make when it comes to activities. It's great to go out to the jazz nights. That's one of my favorite activities. I still think we're throwing a lot of parties and a lot of activities, but I'm glad that more of that is going towards the library, which needs action, which needs involvement with the kids that are right across the street, and more park recreational activities that are going on. So I hope we continue to nurture that side versus the entertainment side. Thank you, guys.
Move to adjourn.
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 120 Terrace. I just want to come and say thank you. I was out at Pepper Park yesterday walking, And I had gone over to the new area for the children. I'm very pleased with it. The grass is beautiful. I was able to get in the swings and swing. The kids were there. They were having a ball. It's a beautiful area. And for years, we have been asking for that. I've been there almost 4 years in that, over in my Sunkist Grove. So I like it. Good job. Thanks to the Parks Director, my councilman, and the diocese, because it's a step in the right direction. City manager and assistant city manager and attorney. I really, really like the area over for the children. It's really nice. Thank you.
All right, citizen forum is now closed. The reports, does anyone have any report?
I sure do, Mr. Mayor, if you allow me. I normally would not, but I'm doing this a little bit more often than usual, respond back to folks. But let me say this to you, something, Dr. Medina. You've known me for a little while now on the city council. Your wife came up and she eloquently stated her concern. I was struggling with the vote because I did not understand most of the project. And I stated some of my concern. That's number one, because it's the process. But if there's one thing that you or anybody else should learn about me while sitting up here, I don't take threats. Well, I'm just telling you, or a promise, whatever that you want to call it. And I'm not having a back and forth with you, but I'm letting you know that I am someone who just sat here and said how I went through the process of reconsidering the item on 7th Avenue. That's one thing. So you throwing up whatever that you want to throw up, that's fine. That's not going to make the situation. Your daughter came after you. She was very eloquent. My door is always open, and you know that because you and I, we sat down. So if you had a concern or how I vote, I don't know what the implication, what your wife was trying to say, I don't know what was going on, but I shared my concern. You could always call me and meet with me and share with me what is your concern, because I do not live over there. I try my best. I drove over there to understand, but you came and said your quality of life is being, but I understand that I'm a human being, but for you to come on this mic, and this is just for anybody, we come up here, we trying to make the best decision that we can based on information that we received, that we have at the time that we make it. I understand we may not agree, and we're not going to agree on everything. But coming here to make threats, just like a couple weeks ago Mr. Delagio made, it doesn't work with me. I am open. You have my number. If you guys want to meet, I'm more than welcome to open to meet, because your daughter, your wife, and Mr. Pevitel made perfect points, which is fine. But please do not make the threats. On that note, thank you again to city administration. We went back a couple of times on the renovation. I want to say thank you. We got two for one. So Councilman Despinas, we do have some good stuff happening. Pepper Park newly renovated, as well as the Alhambra High Tot Lot. That was opened this week. Thank you again to city administration for the hard work, as well as the park department. I want to continue to thank the police department for putting the rain cameras. They are here. We are expecting more to arrive, but that is happening. And I know the officers are out to put them out. I just want to thank them for all their hard work. Thank you, and good night.
Any other? No? Mr. Attorney, do you have anything?
Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
We need a motion to adjourn?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everybody, good night.
Good night.